Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Why AI. In this week's episode, I'm joined by Will Illingworth and Josh Swartz, two EdTech specialists all the way from Pennsylvania, USA. They are also the hosts of the very entertaining Hitechpodcast, which is definitely worth a listen if you haven't already. We had a lot of fun with this one, so I hope you guys enjoy it too. So, Josh, Will, how are you both today?
I'm doing
good.
Great. We're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. That was. You know what? No, I'm not fantastic. No, I'm just joking. Feel like that was too chipper. It needs to be
enthusiastic. Needs to be more like over here where everybody's miserable.
I'm on vacation, guys.
Yeah.
I've finally found the right room, the right angle, the right lights to record with you while everybody else is out at the beach. So.
Oh, right. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. That's mighty kind of you. How's the weather over there?
It's fantastic. We've had a great week. I've got a little bit of some stuff going, so it's really been a little too much sun, but
okay.
Making
Well,
the best of it.
I think it's just stopped raining here. So
I mean, isn't it always raining?
That's
what
like,
we think.
Isn't that like every other 15 minutes?
Yeah,
it's just stopped raining.
The weather is it can never make its mind up. But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today. So we're here. We've got. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourselves, guys?
Go for it, Josh.
Yeah. So I'm Josh Swartz. Both Will and I are from the Hitechpodcast. That's how we met Harry. Yeah. Talking about some AI. So a little context about myself too, for those who don't know. I work in instructional technology. So a lot of my background is helping professors set up technology in courses. I oversee a team that builds online courses. So we kind of do kind of a hybrid of consulting with faculty, but then also kind of producing courses all the time.
Always something.
Yeah, always something around those
busy
areas,
so. I imagine the demand is never ending, especially at the moment with how things are constantly evolving and changing.
Yeah, it's it feels like just it's about to slow down. Something new pops up. So yeah, it's always something. It's good. It's fun. I like the pace. So
yeah, it's good to be busy.
We have AI now. You can produce 30 courses in a month, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, see, my problem is trying to convince the people that we should use AI. We've already come up with like 5 different ways that we could use it.
Is that something that you're encountering? Is that a bit of an issue on
yeah, we're kind of a more small conservative college, like private college, and so like people are interested in AI, but some of the stuff we want to do, some people are probably a little bit more uncomfortable with using AI for. So we're trying to win people over to some of our ideas for cutting content creation in half by having AI generate things.
Yeah,
but
so a lot quicker.
Woo!
Get moving here.
Anyway.
I am William Illingworth. I am a full-time jack of all digital trades. I have been an instructional technologist. I have been an instructional designer. My current title is learning experience designer, which has kind of actually a narrow perspective, but I've actually liked it as generally learning experiences. Sometimes I'm building courses, which is in simple as like putting them together. Maybe I've purchased some stuff from a vendor. I put in like a welcome slide. Maybe there's an exit survey, or I've built entire courses from scratch. Sometimes it's just, somebody comes to me with a problem, a project. It's like, hey, we need to optimize this, make this more efficient, come up with some sort of integration, right? And I do a lot of work like that. I got into this world because I just believe that there's a lot of good folks out there who are good teachers, good content, and just don't necessarily have the techniques or the interest to make their delivery more effective. So that's my big motivator in both our podcast and in my personal work, my professional work. Like I want to be a part of making learning, the learning process more effective, more efficient. John, I'm not to set us apart or set us against each other, but I'm definitely like, I love effective, and Josh is good at efficient. I think you're good at effective too, but
I like effective. Yeah, no, I'm all about efficient, but totally ineffective. That's my
the more ineffective, the better.
Yeah, I think the put it well between Will and I, and if you listen to our podcast, at all, you'll pick this up, is that Will is definitely like if I needed somebody to go to solve a problem and like figure it out, that is like Will is the go-to person. And funny enough, I used to be in Will's job. So like Will, the institution I'm at right now, Will used to work there. He left, and then that's why I transitioned. I took his old job. Like that was very much Will's personality strength, is like, I think very much kind of like, if you have a problem, I will figure out the best way we can to fix it. And I think, well, yeah, the way to fix it, or the like, you came up with really creative ways to do stuff. And that's probably the difference in where I'm at, is that why I think we complement each other well, is because that's always his focus. And I'm definitely more of a kind of a systems guy. And like, if somebody comes to me, I want to figure out the best system for getting there as well. So I think we complement each other well, because I think we push each other to think about those things in different areas, and that's kind of come out in our podcast.
I was just about to say it shows through the podcast. It's a very good listen for everybody who is listening. Get to it. We'll obviously tag everything in after this episode, and yeah. So how did you both sort of get into it? That's we'll start there. Is it something you sort of fell into, the EdTech kind of scene, or was it something that you saw and you wanted to go for?
Josh was, I'll reveal it, like literally a pastor, and
Yeah,
I was I was preparing to be an English teacher.
Okay.
So yes, fell into it.
Yeah,
I think is the right way to put it.
I kind of just like tripped, and I was gonna say, I'd like to say Will like stuck his leg out. Yeah, we've all, it's interesting in the fields that Will and I are in, because we're definitely kind of, we're EdTech, learning and development, like instructional design fields. I mean, those are kind of where Will and I come from.
Okay.
It feels like everybody in those areas, like there's very few people I found that were like, I went and got a degree in instructional design or instructional technology, and now I'm a technologist or a designer. Most of them are like, came from weird backgrounds and ended up here. But yeah, like my story is, yeah, I was a pastor. I was looking to transition. I was looking to teach more. And right around that time, I was kind of in a place where I would have probably just accepted about anything that didn't suck. And Will was leaving his position. And there was a new leader coming in, and you had kind of recommended like, this guy I respect. I think you could fit well into this area. And so I kind of just, I took the job. They luckily hired me. I don't know why, but we'll see.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah, don't ask questions. I had literally zero experience in this area, other than like a little bit of TAing and some involvement there, and in teaching in non-academic environments and things like that. So and just fell in love with it. Like I love technology. I love the way it connects with education. Now over the years, I've gotten more experience in like design theory and educational theory, and learning how that can really impact courses. And so it's just kind of, that's how I fell into it and just kind of went head first. So and Will, you just kind of like were like, I need a job after college, right?
I literally was looking for any job, applying to any job. I knew graduation was coming. My wife and I had our wedding date prepared, so there were some necessary milestones, right? Get graduated, get a job, get married. Hopefully in that order.
A solid roadmap.
with a ticking clock. And I landed as an office assistant. Right. In the Office of Online Education. I mean, that was the life changer. I was there to answer the phones, greet people at the door, but more specifically, my boss needed someone at the time who could generate something like 300 courses a semester, and then some ad hoc throughout the year. And at the time, we had no automations in place. We had no sense of like efficiency, systemization. So we literally just, here's the spreadsheet, click and copy and paste every point of data and make 300 courses a semester. So, I mean, that was my first task. And one of the first things I committed doing was automating that.
Fantastic.
But we also then left the system shortly. Like I was like big part of like, oh no, this system's not as effective. We need to like find something as mobile friendly. This is the 2014 or so. So we were really trying to make sure that our educational content could be as accessible to our learners as possible. We had a big group of folks who were coming into from like a suburban and urban area. And a lot of them use their phones to learn. Nowadays, like, right, this conversation, even this podcast of yours is focused on AI and this cutting edge, this top, but like just 6, 7, 8 years ago, some of these biggest focuses in education were still just like, how do we get the learning in their hands? how do we get it to them? And so a mobile friendly platform was a big point there that actually made my career, because I learned that system. I got to learn a lot of people, meet people through that process, and got me to where I am today.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, concise answers from the pair of you. That's yeah. So let's get to it. So how have you found AI to change what you've done, if it has? I don't know, obviously I don't know much about your jobs in regards and what you do day to day, but how have you found AI to affect your day to day life?
I'll go with one immediate one, and it feels simple, but it's been pretty impactful, not only at the content level, but like in the workflow and production level. So I do make e-learning, right? And if you're not familiar with what that means, if you've ever taken a compliance course, if you've ever done one of those click-throughs, listen to this, do that for work or whatever, that's an e-learning. And that can be, it doesn't have to be compliance focused, right? It can be educational or academic in a sense. But the platform used to create that for a long time has actually had a voice generator. You can put in a script and it will do an overlay for you, but it stinks. I mean, it's all right, but it's like it still sounds like someone has a bad buffering or something.
Really good. That was really good.
Thank you.
Practice that in the mirror a few times.
That was like pro. It's almost like you've listened to it like a billion times.
But my boss at my current position is actually really excited about AI, and so we got a license to a platform called Synthesia. Synthesia is one of the leading names right now. They're just doing so much advertising. They're getting in front of the market for AI-generated avatars and voices.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pick a visual person and a type of speech, right, from U.S. strong to U.S. soft to Great British, Smooth, I think, is the one that I like to use with Thomas. Thomas and GB Smooth is one of my top ones there, and sounds really nice. But it'll generate a visual person that moves along and speaks to your script. I'm not necessarily so sold on the AI avatars just yet. Like, I don't know if I like it. Okay. They're good. They're good. I don't know if I like it, but the voice it's one of the best voices I've worked with in AI generated content. So I don't need an actor. I don't need to go over, 3 or 4 different copies of a video and cut the best one together or something like that. I put in my script and I get a perfect voiceover out.
Yeah.
That's it. It's done.
Yeah. I suppose what more can you possibly want? And apart from the like you say, the AI avatar side of things, do you think that that's got a bit of room to maneuver?
The AI, the avatar side is already pretty good. You'll definitely notice, like, if you ever listen to a song or just like lo-fi on YouTube or something, like eventually you might hear a couple of beats or something that repeat, right? The AI avatars have like a very specific set of gestures.
Okay.
And you'll see them if you watch a long enough video.
You'll starts looking like it's on a loop after a while.
Yeah. Well, not great video actors have their own gestures too that they just repeat over and over again. So, like
that's true. They're not doing hand gestures just yet, or as much, right? So almost all the avatars, for the listener, you're not going to get to see this, but for the viewer, like, they will only cut it from the shoulders down, or like you might get some arms in so that you'll see the arms move a little bit, but they don't bring the hands up.
No.
They won't generate hands because it's probably
it's quite important for me, as I do a lot of
yeah,
doing a lot right now.
So it's good, if you just need this kind of framed shoulder up, maybe chest up kind of person, it does a good trick of just bringing a human into your experience, kind of changing it from just being robotic or no visuals. It still needs a lot of work there to make an entire human AI generatable, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And Josh, what about you? How have you found?
Yeah, so our world looks a little bit different because we're building higher ed academic courses. So although I want to get a hold of Synthesia, as Will and I keep talking about it, I want to play with more of it to see what we could leverage it for. But how we're currently using it is more playing around with it at this point. I mean, we've done a lot of sessions in higher ed on AI now at this point because after November, it was like every professor all of a sudden like knew what AI was, and they thought like Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to drop down and like ruin their course. So we had to do some clarification there. But now since then, it's been a lot of kind of playing around with it. I think at a personal level, I use, as we've talked about on our podcast, I use Notion AI the most out of any of the tools that I use, just because I use Notion for everything. And at the very basic, my spelling's gotten way better.
Not your spelling, your AI corrected spelling.
Listen, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it.
It's there. You're using it. And it's gonna be there for a while. So let's just say it's corrected.
It's corrected. Okay, so I've been using that for that personal level, and obviously, like I think you and I were talking on Twitter, Harry, like generating emails and things like that. Like
yes,
the basic stuff a lot of people have been doing in corporate. I think a lot of the other conversations we've been looking at specifically. We were looking at, I think, Will, you put me onto this. So there was an ID assist tool that we had picked up from one of our networks that some of the instructional designers were using across institutions. Our instructional designers have been playing around with it a little bit to do things, and they're seeing some space to basically have, so like the way we design courses, we'll have a instructional designer who works with a subject matter expert, who's usually a faculty member or somebody expert in their area, right? Like we know nothing about biology, or as Will and I joke on our podcast, we always want to make a tanks course, but it's very clear that we don't know anything about tanks. So like we need somebody who knows that, and they'll work with us. But a lot of times what you'll do is you'll get like a learning group of learning outcomes, a description for the course, and you start from there and then design all your activities and all your stuff. And so a lot of times IDs will have these meetings in the beginning, and they'll try to work on because a lot of our subject matter experts, while they're experts in their field, they're not necessarily experts in teaching online. So they'll come with maybe like an outline or suggestions, the designer will, into those meetings. And one of our designers has been using ID Assist to basically just throw in the learning outcomes and description and go, give me an outline for an 8-week course online. And it's not bad. Like it needs editing, like it needs cleaned up. Like we have standards that we have in our courses that need to be accounted for, but it's an easy starting point. And when we have designers that are working on 5-6 courses at a time, that really cuts down time for them to do that, so they can give more thoughtful review to those types of things. And just stuff like they've been messing around with it to write like weekly overviews and stuff. Like we'll have pages in our courses, they'll give like an overview on the week, and that's always a struggle for a subject matter expert. They know their content, but they don't really understand why we're asking them for 4 sentences to describe the week. And so that's been a helpful place to do it. And the other big one that we're exploring right now is similar to what Will's talking about. So we have to do a lot of video production for our courses, and in our case we don't hire actors. We usually have to use the subject matter experts that are designing the courses. And right now our video production is pretty horrible. Like I guess this is the easy way to put it. We move pretty quickly for an institution. We don't have a lot of time, and so they do a lot of their own video recording, give us the videos.
Okay.
Which, as you can imagine, we get everything from like a really high quality video to like a professor eating a sandwich in front of a camera using their phone. And so it's pretty time consuming. So one of the things we've been looking into is what would it look like to use like some of the AI tools like Synthesia, or like we were looking at like Otter.ai was even here before AI was getting super popular. They all have tools for obviously like generating audio off of scripts. And so we were playing around with the idea of what would it look like to actually have a subject matter expert record the first video or audio for the course, and then leverage that with them editing and writing scripts for the rest of the media content to basically quickly generate media for courses. So that's one of the areas we've been kind of playing around with, and there's some ethics questions about whether or not generating people's voices, things. There's some conversations going around right now. But like if they edit and create the script, I mean it is them saying it. They just don't have to spend hours recording the audio or video. And
just finding the line between
we're trying to find the happy line, so to speak. So that's some of the stuff we've been playing around with. I think the only thing I would throw in is we've been looking to it, like we have to draft scenarios for courses a lot, like counseling courses or things like that. And those can often be annoying to come up with. So we've been looking at like how AI can kind of generate really kind of custom scenarios for course activities and things like that. So that's been one of the other areas we've been playing around with it. So
fantastic.
What are you doing voiceovers? He's got all this stuff.
Well, we've been implemented like any of it. It's all just us in a back room going, this seems fun. How do we convince the rest of our institution to like it?
Just getting them on board, there seems to be a obviously it's not a crazy prospect to anybody, but it seems to be quite a large divide, especially, if you're remotely present on sort of EdTech Twitter or anything like that. There's quite a large divide of who wants to jump on board because people, are in love with it. And I imagine it's something that both of you think is quite a positive thing for the world, as as grand as that seems. But whereas obviously a lot of people have sort of, I want to say demonized because that's a strong word, but it's something that they look at and think is terrifying. And I know we discussed this on your high tech podcast that that it's not quite as simple as the robots are gonna come over and take over the world. But it's obviously hard to convince people of that, isn't it?
Well, and you think of intergenerationality, making up a word here. I love it. Hopefully that works, right? But
I hope that's real. If it's not, we just made it here. It's now a word.
I have to time out from that one.
And I'll just walk off. No, but you think of folks who are 100. I mean, we have people who are 100 years old, 90 years old. None of this was possible. My father-in-law is in his 60s, and he's a director of tech in a company. And when he talks to me about the stuff he got into the business doing and how his 2 gigabyte hard drive was cutting edge when he first learned to code, I mean, that's a lifetime. That's not even a lifetime ago where that's the technology we're working with. And I think it's Moore's law or something to that effect, where like we see the expectation of the doubling of capacity and storage size every X amount of years. There's some people who think a lot about this subject. We just opened the Pandora's box of AI and said, let's have fun. And that's probably my biggest concern. I don't like opening boxes.
Yes.
Let's pull something out and tinker with it. Let's put it into a safe place. Nope. Here you go.
No.
World.
Yeah,
have fun.
It's gone haywire, hasn't it? Over the last 6 months, it's been something that's, it's in the hands of pretty much everybody as well. Obviously there's to get a lot from it, and to get it's still at a point where, and this will probably be for a very short amount of time, but it's still at a point where you kind of do have to know what you're doing with it to get things like very very believable voices out of things, and obviously, like you said about the AI avatars, like it's still not quite there, and it's not so easy to do, but it's not far off.
No. Yeah, I was working on one. I had a friend over. I was working on one, and but just about finished it, I turned my laptop around and pushed it and hit play. I was like, hey, what do you think of this video? And he's just watching it, and he's watching it. It's like, you think there's anything weird about it? He's watching it. He didn't have anything to say. I was like, do you realize that's not a human? It's not real. And his face just went, what? Like he's like, I felt like something was different, but he had no way to realize that it wasn't. He could have just thought it was lag. Like, that's the biggest thing. It kind of feels like lag when you're watching an avatar. He had nothing. He had no reason to say, oh, that's an AI generated person or visual entity I'm looking at.
Some of the pictures, some of the profiles and accounts I follow on Instagram of just the unbelievable mid-journey art that's getting made. It just it's getting better and better, and it's funny showing my parents when it comes up. I'm like, right, let's see if they have a single clue, and they just,
hey mom, what do you think?
Never ever do. And it's it's obviously there's like you say, there's something you can't quite put your finger on it, whether it's the the waxy skin or the extra finger or something like that. but that seems to be getting less and less, doesn't it?
Well, and the older folks are just like, what is this, the Princess Bride? Is he the bad guy with 6 fingers?
Brilliant. Just to sort of switch up the topic, guys, just I've got a lot that I want to talk to you about, and I know we don't have an awful lot of time, just because I want the podcast to be quite informative in a certain way to for example, the people who are listening who don't have a clue about AI, for example, and are quite unfamiliar with it. Just from your experiences, do you have any tools, for example, that you would sort of pass on to them that you'd suggest?
I think one of the first things is maybe even just going to YouTube and check, like if you're starting from zero, I think YouTube is a safe place. This podcast, our podcast, there's people talking about it, but like I think YouTube is the most accessible tool to getting new information. Open up and say, what is ChatGPT? That's going to be your number one question to ask right now to learn a little bit about what's going on. After that, ChatGPT is free. You just sign up. It's easy to get into it. You can Google just ChatGPT. You're going to get there. Give it a try, because you can, if you're asking it platonic questions, don't give it information about your bank account. Don't give it information, right? But hey, how would I build a car? It can give you reasonable information about how to build a car, and you can just have a chat with it. That's a low stakes, zero effort, if you will, introduction to the platform that will give you the top 10 things to learn about it. I've got go to ChatGPT. Hey, what are the 5 things I need to know about you? And I bet you it's going to have an answer.
Get some good answers.
But I'm talking low. But like if you've got nothing, I think that's one of the best ways to just get familiar. Just like Googling, right? Back in the day, people didn't know what searching was or how to search well, and you had to search to learn to search. I think that's my idea. I don't know, Josh, if folks are maybe a little further along the line, because that's me. I am that person. I'll admit it, right? I'm not a big AI user yet. Josh, however, he's got
I mean, obviously, like, I feel like in this day and age now, even a couple months removed from November, saying ChatGPT is like basically saying, have you heard of Zoom? You should try it playing. But yeah, like ChatGPT is definitely one of the starting places I recommend if you're listening and you're new to AI and you haven't played with it. Like, that's the big one that's pretty easily accessible. But then there's a lot of others that kind of, I think, break out in different places. Like you were referencing it, Harry, like Midjourney is a big one for photo generation. If you're interested in those areas or want to play around with that, there's a lot of people who have been playing with that, because there's a lot of us who don't know how to draw or create images, and it really reduces the hurdle and kind of steps to getting into that. I know book authors who are talking about using it to generate photos for things. There have been people in our fields using it to generate like art and stuff for courses that they can use. So Midjourney is a big one I would recommend. There's another one we haven't actually talked about it yet on our podcast, but it's coming up. CuriPod is one that we have been introduced to by some other guests on the podcast. We met them at ISTE just recently here in Philly. It's a big tech conference.
I saw on
they do like presentation generation.
Yeah.
So you can like put in topics and it will generate like basically a full set of presentation slides off of that topic. And Will and I played around with it. It's not too bad. Obviously, like there's some editing and stuff you need to do. My statement always with AI is like you should never just take any AI tool we suggest, plug something in and go, cool, I love that. We're going to just take that. Or at least when it comes to like presentation or text creation. Midjourney, you can't really be like, okay, I'm going to take that now. I guess I can edit that with my paint on my laptop. Like that's fine. But like CuriPod's another one of those. If you're looking for a place to get started or even like ways to break up presentation content, they have been really good. Another one I'd recommend that's free, that's interesting, but kind of a niche area that we've talked about on our podcast before. Research Rabbit is another AI tool that we were introduced to. So it's basically its whole thing is like you put in a topic or an academic paper or any kind of thing, and it will search the internet for all resources related to that author, topic, anything. So like if you've ever done like a literature review or research project, you're always struggling to find all the stuff that could possibly be connected. Research Rabbit will actually use AI to find all of those things and generate this like connected visual map of all of the topics. And you can actually like dig into sections of the map and go, you know what, I really like this section by Will on this topic. I want to find more. And you can actually get AI to then generate another part of the map that's more focused on everything Will has done in that topic. Like, so it's a pretty cool tool. We've had some friends who've been using it and have found it really helpful for those areas. So those are a couple like my top ones I toss out.
So you're going to go to YouTube and just Google what is ChatGPT. You're going to go to ChatGPT and you're going to ask it, what are you? Then you're going to go to something like CuriPod and you're going to say, make me a course on a generative AI. And it's going to build you a 30-minute presentation or 15-minute presentation on it. And you don't have to do any work. And then you're going to go to Research Rabbit and say, why shouldn't I have done that? Like that's the linear process.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's the flow. And one last recommendation. Sorry, I know I have plenty of tools, but I'm going to throw in one last one. The ID Assist tool that I referenced earlier. If you Google ID Assist, it's a Google Chrome extension that will plug into Google Docs. And it is pretty like they're doing similar stuff to like My School AI is doing but they're focused in instructional design, where you guys were talking about a lot of your prompts are focused on the teacher side. They're focused on kind of the designer side, where it's like, I need outlines for this thing. It'll actually generate quiz questions for things. Like it's pretty crazy what it ends up doing. So those are a couple of my recommendations.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I mean, I'm gonna wrap it up. Unfortunately, there, I know it feels like it's not been any amount of time whatsoever. But just as a bit of a sign off, what obviously you gave your tools, and I appreciate that, and obviously a lot of advice, especially with the timeline you gave them. Well, that's fantastic, and the step-by-step guide. But what's, you know, if you could sign off with what to say to the listeners regarding AI and the future, perhaps, what would you both say?
My encouragement is try it. Absolutely. It's something that we need to expect to become a part of our lives. It's not something going away. There's a phrase, you know, once you let the cow out the barn doors. I don't know if you've ever tried to work with cows or if you have an agricultural background, but that is nearly impossible to do if you don't have the right tools and practices in play. Once the cow's out, it's gone. And so we are here. It's with us. It's going to be part of making your coffee. It's going to be a part of making your HIPAA compliance training, right? It's going to be a part of international affairs. At the same time, I'm personally a cautious and, if you will, say skeptical person. Be careful. Do not give it your bank information. Do not give it personal information about you. I mean, we've already heard in the news some examples of folks using it for nefarious purposes, and so we have to go in with our guard up. Give it a shot. But like, hey, I'm at the beach, I'm on vacation, right? There's still lifeguards out there on the beach. So you need to be vigilant as you're trying it out.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Yeah. I say give it your bank account statements, you know, Social Security, whatever you
Josh.
whatever you want. You know, just go and here, I have a site for you. Just go drop it in there. No. Yeah, it'd be similar stuff. I think if I could leave anybody with this, it's just go play with it, like explore it. I think there's a lot I was thinking about this recently with another podcast I was listening to. They were talking about like when to jump into AI, and they were commenting on, and I appreciate this, that there's a lot of kind of, I think, fear mongering going around on the internet about AI, in a way of like, if you don't do this, you'll miss out. Like you're missing everything. You have to learn how to use it. You have to be an expert in it. It's like, we're in the beginning stages of AI and what we're doing. So don't be overwhelmed by it. Just go play with it. Find a place to play with it. Do it a little bit. You don't have to transform your whole course with AI right now. You don't have to be teaching using AI all over the place. Don't freak out that your students are all going to be cheating now. They could cheat before AI existed. Like, it's that if they were cheating, I hate to tell you, your course wasn't cheat proof. So like, go play with it, explore it, have some fun with it. There's some cool stuff that you can do with it, and I think it's the more all of us play with it and explore it, the better we'll all get at it and find new ways to harness it for what we want to do.
Fantastic. Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Do you want to quickly just plug your socials and everything?
You can find us at Hitechpodcast just about everywhere. Our website is hitechpod.us or .us, excuse me. So I want to
depending on how you debate it on the Hitech Podcast.
Hitech HITECHPOD.us. That's the spelled out, but it's hitechpod.us. You can get all of our links, all of our fun stuff there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you can find all of our individual handles and stuff there too. So we don't need to plug that. Just go check out at Hitech Podcast and give it a listen. We are also doing an AI series right now. So my school, Harry was just on this week.
You can listen to me
this week.
Mainly listening to Steve because he's the brains, but still, I say a couple of things here and there.
But we'll be plugging more of it here the next couple of weeks. So
brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.